Thanks everyone for joining us. Penn State head coach Guy Gadowsky, opening statement.
Yeah, first of all, hello. It's good to see all the faces I remember, and welcome to the new ones. Obviously, coming off last year was an excellent year for this program and took some steps, but that process started at least over 2 years prior. So this year, what we're saying is this is going to be a great year. We're either going to put it all together and have another precedent-setting season, or we are going to prepare to have a precedent-setting season. Either way, it's going to be good, and I can tell you the start, as it did a few years ago preparing, it's going to be the same way. The culture was excellent leading up to last year, and I can tell you the guys have done an awesome job of continuing along that path.
Open it up to questions.
Hey guys, so what made you decide to name Christian Berger the captain, Xander Tarl the alternates, and when did you come to this decision, and how will they help the culture?
So it's not a surprise to anybody that's been around the program because of how they are, but we wanted to get the input of the team, and we did so in various ways last year, but wanted the new players to come in and have their say as well. And it was very clear that they were the three guys that the team selected, and it's really nice when the coaching staff agrees with that. And the reason why I think all three of them were selected was because it's very evident that they're here for the right reasons. All three of them are committed to the right things. They're committed to themselves as athletes, themselves as students. They're committed to this university, and they show it. So they are great in the weight room. Specifically, I mean, Christian's been that way forever, Berger, and then Sarlo and Napa have really elevated what they've done commitment-wise over the past couple of years. But again, all three of them, excellent students, excellent work ethic, excellent contributors to Penn State University and to this community. That's why they were chosen.
Kind of jumping into this weekend, you guys haven't started your season away since I think 2 years ago. Are you guys doing anything different, not having like the home crowd of the group? Because I mean, you've always mentioned that helps get you going.
Yeah, obviously we'd love to have it. The Roar Zone is, I mean, I think everybody in college hockey knows now, they are the very best in college hockey, and it's a real privilege and beneficial to play in front of them. However, I think it maybe it's a good opportunity to start on the road where we don't have that. It's going to be different for our returners. As for the new players, they don't know any differently. So maybe in that sense, it's for some of us, they're not going to know any different. So but it is the one thing I can tell you is it is sometimes nice that the first thing you do is to get together as a team and spend a little more time without classes, etc. So we can put it to our benefit.
Hey coach, the run last year obviously was incredible to watch. With the NCAAs, you guys were right there with one of the best teams, and you mentioned trying to get ready for another awesome season. You lose some big names, but you bring back some big ones too. Obviously, you have your new captains, but how do you, with the losses and the changeover, how do you take another step and try and get to that, ever coming Frozen Four instead of staying idle at where you are?
Well, I think we have the formula. I don't think we're going to do it any different. And as I said at the start, it has to do with doing things the right way. And so the reason why we're optimistic is that the blueprint, the formula is the same, and the guys of what they do off the ice, how they care about each other, how they care about this program, and how they go about creating their environment and culture is really what it's all about. And so we feel really good about that. And as far as the personnel goes, like, we really don't know. Yes, we lost a lot of goals, etc. A lot of great players. We lost some great leadership as well, obviously. But because, I think that you mentioned the captains. These captains all got a chance to play with Paul DeNaples for 3 years. They know what he brought and how he brought it, and Paul DeNaples was a guy who was able to learn from some of the best in the business as well. So it sort of goes on in that pattern. So we don't know who's going to. We're not picking one person to come in and take the place of Kevin Wall, or one person to take the place of Paul DeNaples. I think that we'll see who steps up, and hopefully we do it by committee.
Yeah, and going on those captains, you said it's no surprise, and you're right. You talked about all year last year, like how great Sarlo, Lampa, and Ver are off the ice and all the things they do. Are their roles changing now that they get the letters, or is it just more of the same that they've been doing, that hard work that they've been showing all the time?
Well, that's something to remind them. Yes, it's exactly that. It's more of the same. We don't expect any of them to change. They were were chosen by their peers because of what they've done the past 3 years and how they are as teammates, and they don't need to change a thing.
Coach, going off the leadership change, can we expect to see a different attitude out of the team this year, or is this gonna be the same Penn State hockey that we see?
I mean, I hope not. I think if you ask the coaches, I think they're pretty proud of what we stand for and what Penn State stands for. And hopefully it's a lot more of the same. I think until you win the national championship, I don't think you're ever gonna say, this is it, we got it. You have to continue to improve, but I don't think we're gonna change a lot. I think we're just gonna try to get better and better at what we do.
Kind of going off that, how has the culture developed in the locker room after a breakout season last year, obviously just missing the Frozen Four by 1 goal?
I mean, I think the development that you talk about, it started 2 years ago, and it was really evident right after COVID, it was really evident. That was our #1 priority, is to make sure that the culture came back to where it was before. And it took work, like it just didn't happen on its own. It took a lot of work from the leadership and everybody in the program. So when you say, how does it develop? It developed, I mean, this isn't oh, we're new, let's start from scratch. I mean, it developed for a couple of years to allow us to do what we did last year. And now, though, we did lose a lot of good leaders. I don't think it's a matter of in the locker room developing something different. I really think it's just making sure that we follow along the same path that we've gone. And if you look at, you know, the Penn State Hockey Culture Awards, I mean, it's those guys deserve as much credit for the culture in locker room as the guys right now. Guys like, you know, you look at Adam Pilowitz, etc. I mean, Carson Dick won it last year. So it's not only the guys with the letters, it's the true leaders that really understand how important culture is, and they continue to put in the work, and that's what I expect. So that's the development in the locker room.
So over the summer, Coach Poglier was elevated to associate head coach. Obviously, that itself means a lot, but can you talk more about what his presence to the program means?
Yeah, so I think that goaltending, obviously in hockey, can make or break, and it's an extremely important position. And I think we really identified we had an opportunity to get a coach, and Coach Fisher and I sat down and really identified what would be the ideal. And #1, it's a guy that brings great environment, great culture, understands that, fits in well, and is a bit of an overachiever, not someone that's has had everything handled. That's not what this program is about. It's about guys really getting down to work. And so #1, that was important. #2 was a guy, an excellent recruiter that worked hard at it, and that's him. And then third, if we could, we wanted someone that was really good with goalies. And if you look at what he's done in the past with the goaltenders he's had, he's done a great job. So in all 3 areas, I feel we hit a home run, and so he's meant a lot to the program in a number of areas, all those 3.
Going off of the goaltending position, what has been the biggest development for you guys, do you think, in that position specifically this offseason?
I think everything that you can expect is gonna happen with Sully, so I wouldn't say that's been the biggest development, because I think the way he goes, I think it's been pretty consistent from day one. He's a great guy who loves to compete, and he's a leader himself. He loves to have fun, and he's when he's at his best, he's calm, and he's done a great job for us. I think there's been a big development in Noah Grannon. I think he's really taken to our strength coach KJ and what she can do for him, and he's really committed himself. I mean, he's a different looking athlete right now. Like, I'm really excited for him, because from where he was to coming in as a freshman compared to where he is now is a real significant difference, and I look forward to seeing that translate to success on the ice. So that'd be one significant development.
It's been a few years since you've had this many newcomers to the team, whether it be freshmen plus transfers. So how's that acclimation process been this year for the new guys?
Yeah, I think we're pretty confident, or as a coaching staff, we're confident that we can do it. Not we can do it, but the program can do it, because of all the work that these guys have done from a culture aspect. So they're coming into a very solid culture that they can be proud of, and they're really going to enjoy. If they're here for the right reasons, as I mentioned in the opening question about why the captains, those guys are here for the right reasons. For the new players to come in, those that are here for the right reasons to take advantage of this great university, to be the best athlete they can be, and to really help this program be great teammates in this community, like those guys are going to love it here. So that's why we feel really confident as a coaching staff to bring in those numbers. I really think that the culture of this team and the leadership is really going to take care of them, and they're going to love it.
It's no secret that offensively, there was a void left by the departures from last season, so how do you envision
Yeah.
the new additions filling that gap?
I'm curious, I don't think we can envision it, like, I really think it's gonna be interesting to see who steps up. You're 100% correct, we have lost a lot, but keep in mind, those guys ate up a lot of quality offensive minutes too, so now someone has to get that opportunity, so we're really curious, like everybody else. I mean, there's obvious people like Ryan Kerwin, who, his natural gifts of shooting the puck, et cetera, we really expect to step up, but there's other guys that are really talented offensively that didn't really get a lot of those opportunities, so, when you ask envision, I don't know, I'm curious, but we'll see.
And Coach, kind of building off of that, instead, excuse me, a little bit of lost boys, instead of moving from the forward position to the defensive position, you guys had a few freshmen really step up last year, Carter Shea, Jared Crespo, Dylan Brent. What more can we see from those freshmen, now sophomores, building on the back end? That was one of their strong suits last season.
Yeah, so that question, if I can quote Coach Fisher, he said, this is absolutely the best decor that we've ever had. And I think because of what you just stated, I think we had freshmen that came into this program last year that were ups and downs, and by the end of the year, all of them were playing huge roles and really contributing to a team that was very close to going to the Frozen Four. So I think they really benefited from the experience that they had. They were, because they really were relied upon, so they were forced to have those minutes, and it really paid off. At the end of the year, they played the best hockey, and I think that's why, a big reason why our team was so good at the end of the year. So you can see our optimism. Obviously, you lose a guy like Paul DeNaples, that's gonna hit you in a few areas. However, we really expect that class specifically to be really confident and to really take over from Paul in terms of leadership, as well as defensive hockey, as well as, I mean, you've got guys that I expect to put up some pretty high offensive numbers as well. So the coaching staff is extremely excited about our decor. And we also add, I mean, Casey Amon has been excellent as a freshman, and obviously, if you look at Tanner Plasek, if you look at what he's done in Division I hockey in Dartmouth, it's amazing. I mean, I think last year he led their team in scoring by 5 points as a defenseman. I mean, and I can tell you, he's an excellent person that's fit in really well right away. So we're excited about our decor.
As you just mentioned, obviously you added 2 veteran transfers from highly competitive conferences. What have they contributed most to the team on and off the ice?
So start with off the ice, they're really aware of culture, both of them. So when we were recruiting them or going through it, that was something that we were really aware of, and they sort of had to demonstrate to us that they would fit in and they understand, because culture has been so important to what we do. So both of them were right on the mark. And so off the ice, they're coming in, they're very intelligent about that. They're not knocking down tables and chairs and changing things, but they're really aware of what makes a team culture work. And I can tell you, they've been really good that way in a very supportive role. So off the ice, it's been great. On the ice, they bring different things. Jacques Boucault is a guy that was relied on where he played before in almost every situation. And I think that from the coach's standpoint, he's a guy that we're looking to sort of as a luxury, because we know that he's had experience everywhere, and it sort of seems like wherever we need help, he's going to be a guy that comes to our mind right away, because he's done it at the Division I level for so long. So we already talked about Tanner. I think Tanner is we talked a lot about iron sharpens iron in terms of development, and I think he's a guy that's already come to, as questioned before, a great decor that's really going to push everybody, and he's going to make the team better for sure.
Speaking of building and putting parts together, what has the recruiting process been like over the past 2 years and going forward? What are the most important things you look for in a future Penn State?
I don't think what we look for has changed. It's always been really important to us to fit into Penn State. Penn State's a special place, as you know. I don't think entitlement plays well here at all. I think you have to come in here and want to work and want to build something. In the same sense that, you look at Thon, it's run by students. It's students don't just show up to and expect to to have something great happen. They expect to work at it and make it happen, and I think it's the same thing with us. I think that we need the type of students that fit into the Penn State environment and culture, and that's number one. So we're not looking for anything different there. It's no secret that we play to score goals. We always have. We've been one of the top offensive teams in the nation, and that's not gonna change. That's how we think. But the landscape of recruiting, when you ask specifically the last 2 years, has changed specifically because of the transfer portal. I'm not going to say that we've figured that out. I think it's too early. I think we're still trying to find our footing in it and how you do it successfully. It's something we certainly discuss on a multi-weekly basis. It's something that is always on the forefront. We don't just do it in a specific part of the season and forget about it. It's something that consumes us every week. I don't know if that answers your question. Nothing has changed in terms of the type of person we want because of the landscape of recruiting. How you get there is a little bit different, and I can't say we're solidified on a formula yet.
Thank you.
Coach, you talked a lot about transfers and newcomers and moving parts, and I don't remember if someone asked this last year. For some reason, I feel like someone did, but maybe not. But even if it's an old player or someone new, over the off season, is there someone that maybe we're not thinking about that you really think is gonna step up and fly off the ice for us, like watching?
I mean, I think that there's guys that were instrumental on this team last year behind the scenes that are now gonna get a better opportunity of ice time. And I'll give you two. I think it's really interesting. One of these guys won the Culture Award for this program and yet played very few games in Carson Dick. And he is, you ask anybody in the locker room on what he means to the team and they're gonna go off. And now it's a situation where we expect that he'll because of our numbers, etc., he'll compete for more ice time to show that on the ice. No one in the program is gonna be surprised if he, at what he does on the ice. Another one is Dylan Lugris, who was a very unique story 2 years ago, who came at Christmas out of nowhere and ended up scoring his first game and then was our leading goal scorer in the playoffs. And then last year, because of, we were able to, Tour Linden came, Ashton Calder came, they're both right-hand shot, offensive guys like Dylan. Dylan's role on the ice was diminished, yet what he did off the ice, including what he did with the sled hockey game, was just phenomenal. And I think you're gonna see guys like him get the opportunity to have a greater role. So those are two guys I'll mention right off the hop that meant so much to the team's success last year, but didn't always get a chance to show it on the ice, that this year should get more of an opportunity.
I asked you about newcomer acclimation, and one guy I didn't ask you about is starts. So what's that process been like for him now, transitioning from being a player to a coach, and what do you envision him being able to bring to the program, and how important is it to now have a former player be a coach here who's familiar with the culture and everything that's the standards that have been set before?
Yeah, we're really excited about this opportunity. So number one, in the past for men's hockey, you're allowed 2 full-time coaches or 3 full-time coaches and a volunteer. And so that volunteer, typically, if you're in a big metropolitan area that's been playing hockey forever, you have your choice of a lot of people. Or if it's not a big city, at least somewhere that's had Division I hockey for decades and they've played and maybe played pro and come back. Here at State College, we don't have either. It's not a big metropolitan area where you can just choose from hundreds of hockey players in the past, or we haven't had a long history of our hockey players going pro. We've had a great club history, but not of them going pro. So this rule that now you do away with the volunteer, but you add 1 paid coach, is going to benefit Penn State, I think, more than anybody in the nation. And because it allows us to get someone of Andrew Sturtz's caliber, whereas other people could get them as volunteers, we never could. So this is fantastic for us, and we hit another home run with the type of person he is. Anybody that has come in contact with Sturtzy knows how passionate he is about this university, and what a positive, great person he is to be around. And when you talk about his transition, he's actually been, he knew, I've talked to him, I don't know how many years ago it was, when he first said, hey, I want to coach. Like, this isn't just a win for him. This is something that he's known about for years. and he stayed in touch, and he's reminded me year after year that he wanted to do this. And in the off season, even though he was playing pro at the time, he would run skills clinics, etc. And I talked to some players that he did that for, and they raved about how passionate he is about it. So he is just the absolute perfect guy. Your last statement, I love that we can start bringing in really successful Penn Staters in the game to come back to the program. It means the world. I just think it's awesome. It's been wonderful, and it's great to hear from alumni that, you know, when they knew he's coming back. It's been great. It's great for the players. It's great for the staff. It's great for the alumni. It's really great for the program, and I'm really pumped about it.
Coach, we're a month away from when the conference slate starts at Notre Dame. Is there anything that you're looking for the team to show you, any milestones or markers in the non-conference schedule?
No, the way we look at it is we just look at one game at a time, and it's just the way we have to do things. You learn that, we've learned that lesson for now, the staff, Coach Fisher and I have learned that, 18 years ago, and we continue to learn it. And it sounds so simple, but it's not. We can look ahead of that, and we really, really try not to. So no, there are no milestones. All we're looking forward to is learning as much as we can about our experience this weekend. Yes, we want to have success, but success doesn't always mean on the scoreboard in hockey. In hockey, there's refs and goalies and bouncing pucks, and you can play really, really well and lose, and you can play poorly and win. And if you do so, you can't just say you're there. Like, you have a lot to learn. So whatever the experience is, we want to take from it and prepare for the next weekend. So right now, we're just concentrating on Saturday. That's it.
Leading off of that, Coach, last year one of the big stretches that you talked about was special teams play and
Yeah.
power play especially. Is there anything you're looking forward to this weekend and just in the non-conference slate?
Yeah, both. So you're right. I mean, and there's been things we've told you in the past, what our points of emphasis or our priorities have been. And last year we had a great year, but both PP and PK were not nearly where they had to be. We were focusing on other things, and it's true that what you focus on, you do well at, and that's a priority. So both those areas we've worked at more in this off season than we have in the past. And yeah, it's our expectation that we after this weekend feel we're much further along in both those areas than we have been at the start of the year last year, the year before, even the year before that. There was not long ago we were #1 in the nation in specialty teams combined, and that makes a big difference. So if we can get back to being closer to that area, that's going to really help us.
Anything else for Guy?
Going back to Bucco, what does it mean to have somebody that was a previous captain at Vermont back in the long term to really improve that culture? You kind of mentioned a little bit earlier when we talked about the two transfers.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the important part that he was a captain. I think the important part is that he must have been a really good one, just getting to know him a little bit. He has a really, really, really good understanding of culture and how he goes about things. So he was a captain, and I'm sure in Vermont he was expected to speak a lot and stand up and say things. And he's really taking a different role in this. But I can tell you this, when there's something to be said and it's important and he knows it, he says it. But he's got a really good feel about him. Like, he's a really welcoming, he's a very attractive person to be around, and he's taking that role. So even though he has he's really highly educated and experienced in that, he's not taking what he knows and throwing it on this team. He's coming in with eyes wide open and doing everything he can to just enhance it in the areas he sees. He's an intelligent guy, very attractive person to be around, and I think the leaders on this team have really, really welcomed him. I think he's done a great job for them. Like, I think it's a really good marriage of leaders. Sounds bad.
Every team in this conference is good, capable of beating each other, especially proven last season. What do you think makes this team different?
You know what? Curious. I don't feel confident to say that now. I think that we'll find out. I do think that whatever the answer is, I do think our D-core is as good as it's ever been. So for us to be successful, we're gonna have to be right about that. No matter what league you're in, although as you mentioned with the Big Ten, it's just an absolute monster right now. If you don't have great goaltending, you won't have a chance. Like you can't, I don't think anybody in this league can win with average goaltending because of the quality of every team. So that's gonna have to be a must, but it's the intangibles I think that you're talking about, like it, and every team that you have sort of develops its own little identity that way, and I'm curious to see what that is. But I do think, I do think that it's gonna be a character grit type of intangible. It's what the guys, I think they all excel that way. It's what makes us a little bit different. It's something that I think why I said at the start, like the question about what type of people are we looking for here. They have to fit in well with Penn State. Penn State has great work ethic and ownership and making things happen. That's sort of how our locker room is. So not exactly sure how it's gonna portray itself on the ice, but it's gonna have those qualities.
And circling back to goaltending, obviously, so that's a big aspect of winning. It's a really competitive position, especially here. What do you have to say about the competition between the three options you have?
Yeah, so I mentioned once already, like iron sharpens iron is the philosophy that we're taking so that we all make everybody better and we embrace that, not that we welcome the internal competition and cheer for the internal competition, like want it, not want to be solidified in our spot, but want to be pushed. And I think that's something that goaltenders are a little bit more used to doing because there's only one net in hockey. They've been here their whole lives. Every team they played on has had multiple goaltenders and only one net to play. So they're sort of used to that. I do think it's really easy with Noah and Liam especially, and Doug fits in there as well. Like I think they're good guys. Like they're all good guys, and I think that really helps. So I feel confident about the internal competition aspect of it. And as I said, I think you asked the question before, what's one significant development? I mean, Noah Grannon's a much better athlete right now than he was. And so I hope that in iron sharpens iron ways, that it makes him better as well as Liam.
Coach, you guys played LIU 2 years ago in their first season in D1 hockey. What can you take from that series, if anything, going into this weekend?
I don't know if we can. I don't know if we can. Any video, the video that they're watching is from their last series of last year, which I think was Arizona State. I do think, if I'm not mistaken, they've had a couple big wins like last year. I think they might have beat Ohio State. I think they swept UMass Lowell, if I'm not mistaken, or is that another one? Like they've had some big wins, so it's not like, hey, we're gonna have to play our best hockey, but especially, this is the first game of the season. We have a lot of new players. Before we worry anything about what they've done to us in the past, like we're 100% consumed on what we do. So no matter what we see out of the Arizona video, it's gonna be secondary compared to what we've learned even this week from what we do.
One final question for Guy?
I've asked you this, I think at the beginning of each of the last few seasons now, but you've always talked about learning lessons, whether it's personally as a coach or the team as a program. Is there anything you've learned from last year that you carry over to this year that you think can make improvements, whether it's coaching staff wise or just team in general?
Yeah, and this time, the answer I think for the first time is on the positive side of that. We've learned a lot of negatives, I think. I think one of the things that we can look at is the great work that was done, started like 2 years ago in terms of, we placed a priority on culture. And I know culture is a word that's been thrown around and used in different ways and almost in a cliche type, but I can tell you for the success of our program last year, what we learned as a coaching staff was that it cannot be overstated. And it really was the main reason why we were able to succeed or have the season we had. From the year before, we were, we started out so poor. Like you could really look at, we went from where probably one of the lowest places in our program to one of the highest. And it's always nice when a lesson that you learn, it turns out because of something positive, not of something negative. So that's the lesson we learned. Hopefully we will never, ever, ever take it for granted again.
Thanks, Guy.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Coach.